Hey Who to Judge, I'm here with Betty Cayouette to talk all about Tell Me How You Really Feel, a book of the month.
Excited! I'm so excited it's your pick.
I could not wait. I feel like we've been planning this since like last May, right?
Yeah.
I'm so excited to chat all about it because I just thought it was so great. Like your first book, One Last Shot, that we read last May, was so good. And I just feel like you like hit the mark every time.
Oh,
it's so good.
Thank you. I secretly maybe like this one even more just because I feel like I grow as a writer with each book. So I'm so excited that it's finally out in the world. I love this one so much. And I think right now is a really good time for it because it talks about a lot of real world issues, but in like a fun, sexy, spicy package. And I think people are kind of desperate to read about authentic things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What was the experience like from writing your first book to writing this book? How was it maybe a bit different, or was it really the same?
It was definitely different because for your first book, you have all the time in the world. There's no agent, there's no editor. You just get to perfect it and make it exactly what you want. The second book is on a deadline, so that's typically a lot harder for people, and I did have challenges with it. But I feel like something that I've developed as I've been writing is personal taste. And I think for the first book, I was a big reader, but it could sometimes be hard for me to decide, like, oh, this is what, like, this is my opinion. I do want to cut this, or I don't want to cut that, or I have, I just didn't have as strong opinions because I felt like unsure whether I knew better with certain things or people who advised me on the book. And then I think I really developed more of my own personal taste about my own writing for the second book. So I felt a lot more confident in the decisions that I was making. I think that's really nice and something I feel really grateful for.
Did you feel like writing the first book was more fun because it was a little bit more like you could just kind of do it and
honestly
write it
no.
when you wanted? Yeah.
The first book, like, I felt so much pressure of, like I had quit my job, so I was like, I need to get a book deal and sell this book, otherwise I will eventually basically run out of money. And so this book, I was really lucky and have a 3-book deal with my publisher, who I love. And so this book, I knew I wanted to live up to expectations, but I knew that someone was going to pay me for it. So I think with that came reassurance, and I was able to kind of take the time I needed to get it right. And honestly, this book is different than my third book or my first book in that it was a really light edit. I was really, really lucky, surprised, because it's never like that, but we didn't have to do that many revisions on it, which was really awesome.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. How many revisions would you say you typically do, like, per book, or is it like absolutely different?
I mean, really the difference isn't how many, it's how heavy they are. Like my third book, I'm doing a lot of revision on because I'm doing something new, and it's in a slightly new category. It's new adult instead of adult, so they're in their younger 20s, younger to mid, rather than mid to late 20s. Okay. And I think that for this one, I maybe did a similar number of rounds of revision, but they were a lot lighter. I was really just expanding on stuff that was already there rather than making like big changes. Whereas with One Last Shot, I had some big additions.
That makes sense. In those light revisions, is there anything that didn't make it into Tell Me How You Really Feel? Is there anything you like completely scrapped that you're like, oh, maybe another book?
I mean, be like, honestly, so with One Last Shot, there was.
Yeah, I guess that's where my mind went.
I had tons of cut stuff from One Last Shot, whole characters, plot lines, like a ton of stuff. That was not the case with this one. I will say, if I had all the space in the world in the book, I would want to write more podcast episodes because like I had so many that I could write, and I could only fit so many in the book. Like I really could write endless episodes if they're fictional podcasts.
Yeah, I love the podcast episodes. I thought they were so fun, and I don't understand how you come up with ideas like I feel like everything you write feels so unique and so original and just so fresh and fun.
Thank you.
How do you get into a space where you're like, oh, this is an idea that I really want to like spend time with?
I have no shortage of ideas. I have several books that I haven't written yet that I want to write. But for this one in particular, because it was my sophomore novel, so it was already part of my deal, but I hadn't had any idea what I wanted to write about when we sold One Last Shot. I outlined 2 totally separate books and gave both outlines to my publisher, and they got to choose. So I outlined a reality TV book and this book, a podcasting book. So I guess I was starting with careers, and then they chose between them, and I'm really happy they chose this one, even though I love reality TV, because this was really fun. And I think podcasts are really topical right now. People keep telling me to watch Nobody Wants This. Yeah, which I have. Someone else told me the other day to watch it. People keep telling me. But this was so fun. And I think for this book, I started with the job of podcasting. Mm-hmm. And then I wanted to do something different. I like to do something different in each book. So rather than writing like a super sweetheart friends to lovers book like One Last Shot was, I got to write something a bit more enemies to lovers coded, which I think was really fun because I got to write characters that were angry, which I didn't really get to do before.
So talking about their careers and their jobs, you tackle the gender pay gap and pay inequality in Tell Me How You Really Feel. And even in One Last Shot, you just talk about some really meaningful things packaged into, like you said, a really sexy, really fun read. So what kind of drew you to this issue, wanting to talk about it?
Well, the wage gap is something that I'm really passionate about because I've personally been in a position where I knew I was being paid less than men doing my same job. I knew with certainty. Yeah. I had seen contracts and knew, and that's a hard position to be in, and it's a position that so many women are in. But more than that, at past jobs, I had learned how many of my friends had never ever negotiated their salary. And I had been in places in past jobs where I felt like women were being taken advantage of salary wise. And I think it's something that I wish that in big A-list contracts that didn't happen, but we see time and time again that it does. I think we hear announcements about these big podcast deals. And I mean, personally, something I found shocking was not how much Call Her Daddy got paid. I thought that was well deserved. What I was shocked by was the disparity in her Spotify contract originally a few years ago versus Joe Rogan's. He was being paid like, I want to say more than triple what she was being paid, which was shocking to me because women are 60, I mean, don't quote me, I guess, but I've read that women make up 60% of consumer spending. So if women listeners are more valuable to advertisers, then why would a podcast with women as their audience, the biggest in the world, get paid less? Like, it doesn't really make sense. So that's something I had thought about then. I was like, that just doesn't really make sense to me. It's disheartening to see many situations I hear about on TV shows and movies where people are not being paid anywhere near equitably. And you'd think that after a certain point that wouldn't still happen. It's something that you see happen on all levels of career. So I thought it was something really interesting to write about. And like, in this book, I think so much has been going on the last few years that I really wanted to write about like authentic things that we're thinking about. I write about everything from the orgasm gap to the wage gap. And I think that, I enjoy books sometimes that are really, really light romances that are kind of in like a fictional world where nothing bad ever happens. But I find it more relatable to write a real romance, and I enjoy that more.
And that doesn't make sense, like you said, and I think you tackled this in a way that really makes people think, or at least made me think about this issue more deeply. I feel like Maeve also, so in the book, she's a licensed therapist, and something that she also deals with is a lack of industry support, because she talks really openly and candidly about sex and intimacy, and she gives great advice. She's advocating for women to make sure that they are feeling heard and valued and seen in their relationships. And I feel like that lack of industry support also really feeds into her imposter syndrome, and it feeds into her feelings of that she's not valued in the same way that Finn is valued. And we learn that she's not by her industry.
And I think that's something that I think about a lot, because really this, in many ways, is a book about toxic masculinity, which we cannot escape from right now. It's decided an election. So I think that a lot of times women are discouraged from trusting their gut. And in her gut, she knew that she was being valued differently. Yeah. And she was right. So you don't ever need more than like a gut feeling, I think is kind of one of the messages.
No, for sure. I think that's so important. Do you feel like writing romance, because I feel like romance is, and it is, a women-centered genre, and primarily consumed by women. Do you ever feel that way? Like you're not taken as seriously for being a romance author?
So what I find really interesting is that question comes up all the time. It comes up on panels and in interviews. It's only ever really something that I experience with an older generation. People our age, like, it never occurred to me to be like embarrassed to write romance novels because there's such high quality literature these days. So when I started reading romance novels a few years ago, like after college or when I was in college, they were amazing books. They're so high quality. They are not some erotica type grocery store novel at all. There are Tessa Bailey books in the grocery store, and those are fantastic. Quality was just so good that I never thought to be embarrassed that they were romance novels, and no one my age has ever brought up anything like that in like a personal setting. But you know who does bring it up is older people. Sometimes when I'm at the YMCA or at pickleball and I say that I write romance, they kind of are like typically older men, actually, not women. Women are like, how amazing that you have this career, like, good for you, they're so happy for me. But it's older men that are kind of like, oh, is it one of those Fabio romances and stuff like that, which is like with a sexy guy on the cover, I guess. It's really fascinating because when I see that brought up on panels at events or in like an interview with a like newspaper and stuff, I wonder who's really wanting that question to be asked, because usually it isn't women. Mm-hmm. Usually it's like older men who are the ones actually thinking and saying that. So I think that times have already changed for romance novels and people are catching up. And I think that we're going to see, I think asking someone, don't you feel embarrassed, is akin to telling them they should be embarrassed. And I think the only people that I've experienced really asking those questions are older men who are kind of stuck in the past. And the people who are saying that were not meaning to be offensive. They are happy for me and will hopefully be at my event here and are so lovely. There's nothing like wrong with them. I think it's just an example of like anyone who's kind of already got in with the times and has a true understanding of where culture sits now, like younger people aren't even thinking that. It's only people who are kind of not quite up to speed that are thinking that, and that's natural. Like, culture changes. I feel like when I hear them ask that, I'm like, aren't you embarrassed to ask that?
Yeah.
Like, aren't you like embarrassed? Like, I might be getting the ick. Like,
Speaking of the ick, I feel like in some of the episodes of the podcast, Maeve talks about some like really terrible dates that she goes on, and some really like kind of like creepy things of like the guy that lives like in the attic kind of vibe. There's a guy that like
is breeding like jungle cats like with his mom
up the fire escape.
And he has like a cage, and she's like, the cage isn't for me, right? Like,
she's like, were any of these dates inspired by any like terrible dates that you've been on or friends of yours have been on that maybe you just like heard?
They were not.
Okay. Maybe not that one.
Not that one. I can't even think of the other ones. I don't even know. I wrote this 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's so true.
No, but nothing, honestly, like, I really like being able to be creative. That's like the best part. So I don't think any of the dates were inspired by real dates, but I will say I listen to a lot of podcasts, I watch a lot of reality TV, I watch a lot of regular TV, I watch a lot of movies, I talk to a lot of people. Like, when you're at home writing all day and you get to the YMCA, you're excited to chat with anyone available. I love a good story, but these ones are fictional. Luckily, I would be terrified.
I'm really glad.
If I was in that situation. No, I mean, I've been on, honestly, I'm pretty lucky. I haven't been on that many bad dates because my time on the market online dating was very brief.
You got very lucky. Which I love for you. I think that this book, for anyone who's been on a few bad dates.
Like this book, we're talking about the serious stuff, but it's funny.
Like, it's so funny. You're
and I'm not
really
paying
hilarious.
You to say that. Like, when I try to make my boyfriend say that I'm funny too, I'm like, you thought it was funny, right?
Yeah.
Which is like the worst question to ask. It's funny, I swear to you. Can I share my favorite funny part?
Please.
I hope you thought it was funny, but Maeve is a true crime podcast lover. And she gets a house in LA when she moves there. And this house was a great deal. And there's a reason it was a great deal, and it's because she bought the house that someone was horrifically murdered in and like buried in the yard, and then like no one notices. Her sisters don't notice, no one notices in her videos and stuff. And then Finn, he really knows her because he gets to this house and he's like, this isn't the house where they were buried in the yard. And she's like, yeah, didn't the blood clean up nice? And I don't know, I just thought it was so funny. My editor was like, maybe we should cut this. And I was like, no.
No, I love it. They just
funny.
like put a pool in.
Yeah, they put in a pool, the bodies. And they make a lot of jokes about it. Like, at one point, Finn's like, oh my god, I could, or maybe she says it, I don't know. They're like, I could literally kill them. Like, I hate them too much. Like, joking, obviously. And she's like, and I know where I'd put them.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like also Maeve, like, I really understood her in this moment. A girl knows a good deal, and I respect it. Like, definitely. She was like, yeah, this is like,
houses are expensive. It's an expensive market.
Yeah, so honestly,
that was one of the things I had the most fun writing about, was the experience of going from being broke, basically, to having millions of dollars, because it's very like wish fulfillment. It's fun. Yeah. And writing a Nepo baby, that was fun too. Finn is a Nepo baby.
I know. I feel like he definitely had a journey of understanding his privilege and like acknowledging it and realizing like where he was kind of turning a blind eye to the ways that he could just kind of like sneak through these situations, and ease of which he could do that. Okay, so you said nobody wants this. I feel like it was
I haven't seen it yet.
It was
I
so
need to see
nobody
it.
wants this coded.
Yeah,
it was basically like if what are the characters' names? It was if like Adam Brody and Kristen Bell's characters had to have a podcast together with their situation. It was their relationship dynamic. It's very Ross and Rachel from Friends. Yeah,
we were on a break.
Yes, exactly.
Well, people are arguing about that now on Instagram in that video.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I feel like we need to know, like, were they on a break? Were Maeve and Finn on a break?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, what's good about this and what I'm validated by in the reviews is that people see both sides. They do. When you tell us what you see, which side you take, but I like hearing that both characters are flawed, both characters make mistakes, and they genuinely can see both sides. Like, you can't pick an easy side here.
No, and I feel like that speaks to the quality of your writing and just like how fantastic you are that you can build such whole real individuals who like make mistakes and who you empathize with and like want to like root for even when they're like kind of in the wrong. You're like, okay, like I still want you to end up where you know you're supposed to be and at your happiest and most full self.
I mean, I actually personally don't like a male character that's so perfect. I think there's such like a man problem now, as evidenced in The Bachelor, when you see all the amazing women and you see the cast of guys and you're like, oh my god, like where did they find them? Like, why are they all like not adequate for her? But anyway, there's a big man problem right now, so I feel like people like to write male characters that are like so perfect and so unrealistic. Trust me, I have a lot of friends and I hear about all of their relationships, and these men in these other romance novels, like, they're not that good. Like, so I wanted someone a little bit more realistic, where it's like, it's not like, even though he's groveling wrong. You know, like, I wanted him to be sweet and romantic and obsessed with her, but also feel real and make real mistakes and not feel like a wish fulfillment man, you know?
Right. Like, just because you feel guilty about what you did that's not like a real apology. Being like,
that doesn't make you understand what you did.
Right. It's like, I feel so bad.
Yeah.
And like, you just have to forgive me now because I feel bad. I feel like there's, you know, the friends to lovers to strangers to enemies to lovers. It's like really hard to master. And I think that the banter that they had and how witty they were, and this like, you know, the fact that she didn't just let him off easy, you know, I think that was so important. But also their enemy's face wasn't, I didn't not like either of them during that time, or not feel like what they were feeling wasn't justified and made sense for who they were. How do you go about writing that chemistry and finding that balance between the distance between them, but it not feeling too cold?
I think Honestly, a lot of the stuff that's like chemistry and banter in the books, like I feel like I'm writing in like a fugue state and like it's just coming to me as I go. And I feel like that for most of my best scenes, like in all my books, like the ones that I read back and I'm like, oh, this is good, or that people like I feel like it's very instinctive, like not something you can really teach. I think a lot about people and I read a lot of stories and I love stories and have read probably more than most people we know, but
all the books.
Yeah, we're surrounded by like a den of books.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of instinctive. Like you can always change things in revision, but like I said, this book wasn't a heavy revision, so maybe I was just ready to write people who were mad.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of times when I'm writing, I think about like what's a true emotion I've had and how can I like channel that into this. I think everyone out there has had an experience where they've been furious, and so I think I thought about that a lot while writing this. I actually can think of a specific thing that made me furious that I thought about that gave me good inspiration, but I shouldn't share it.
Okay.
Was that rain? No.
Oh my gosh, it's raining. We were gonna go get lobster rolls after this.
We can still get them, but we might have to eat them in the car.
I also really wanted to know about your writing space, like where you like to write, what that looks like for you. Do you have to be in like a dark, quiet room, or is it like you've got to be in a coffee shop, you want to be people watching? What does that look like?
So even though I love to travel and do fun things, I actually write best when I'm in a very mundane routine. I like to write in like my sunroom. I have a desk that a friend made out of driftwood that has the ocean on it and sand from our local beaches, and I have a print of my first novel, and I just like to put my phone away, put it like out of sight in a backpack. I like to do 2 chapters, whether I'm writing or revising. However long it takes, that's when I'm done. It could be all day, it could be just a few hours. I like to just do it in there. Open the screen door, or open the glass and just have the screen so I can kind of hear some ambient noise and feel like the breeze. And it's really nice.
It's so peaceful.
I like to revise on planes with no Wi-Fi, but
oh my gosh.
I like to write in my sunroom.
Yeah. Why revise on planes with no Wi-Fi?
Because you're stuck. Like you're stuck doing it.
It's forcing you
to do it. Especially like the big revisions that feel a little more drafting like sunroom. But when it's like reading line edits or stuff that's really dull, I do know what happened, so it's not that exciting to read like copy edits or whatever. So I like to do that somewhere where I'm trapped, and when I would want to get up and do something else, I can't.
That makes sense. I get that. I feel like that would be really hard to have to read it over and over and over again and still find things that feel fresh and feel exciting, and like jokes that are in the book. Like, do you, even after revising like multiple times, is it like, are they so funny to you?
Maybe they shouldn't be.
No, I thought they are. I was like, I think they're really funny. But
I think they're funny still. I will say, like, I feel like by the time we are doing like promo for a book, it's been a long time since I wrote it, and it's not that I forget it, but it's that I'm so involved in the next book at that point that it is a little weird to go back.
I think the process is so interesting, and like how
well,
it's
imagine
different.
if like when you had a season come out, you were on set filming a new season already.
Yeah.
And you have to then be talking about the season you filmed 2 years ago when you're like in the nitty gritty of now, you know?
No, that would be...
It's kind of hard.
That would be hard, especially because now your mind is like, you've moved forward, you're doing something else, and it, 100%.
Sometimes people will quote the book to me, and I'm like, ooh.
You're like, oh, wait.
That was good.
What was your favorite trope in Tell Me How You Really Feel?
Well, something I really wanted to write was one bed. I wanted one bed. I love one bed, and I'm not going to spoil what happens in my one bed because it might not be what you're expecting, but I love one bed. It's one of my favorites. There's something about it, like, I really like it. I mean, enemies to lovers, but really one bed, and fake dating is another thing. I would say this is like fake dating-esque. Like, it's not like there's not a signed contract to fake date, but there's still some fake dating stuff here, and I really like that. It's one of my favorite tropes.
You had a really interesting take on the fake dating, because like you said, there wasn't a signed contract, but they also, it was that whole act that they had to do as celebrities and, you know, keeping their deal afloat, making sure that they kept these big network executives happy, just how it literally, there's a fine line between love and hate, and she's standing on it. Like, it felt like every moment was this push and pull for them of the public eye versus what was happening in their private lives. I wanted to ask you too, because you were talking about one bed and maybe like not what they expected. You do have a really like, okay, what is the difference between like steamy and spicy? I feel like I use them interchangeably. Is there a difference?
I don't know if the book has a sex scene, like not a fade to black. I would say the steam is leading up to the spice.
Okay.
Which makes sense. It's like when they're like almost kissing, but then once they do, that's spicy. Though I guess by the logic now, the kissing and almost kissing is steamy, and then once they're having sex, and that's in the book, that's spicy.
Okay.
I would say is the difference. I will say that the difference between like a hardcore spicy book, the difference when you're getting extra chili peppers is basically the words you're using. What are we calling the appendages?
Yeah.
Like, I like to have like some spice, but I don't like to be like super graphic. Like I'm not getting like a 5 chili pepper erotica rating.
Yeah. But okay, so you would say it's steamy and spicy because there's a lot of tension, a lot of buildup. I feel like I've always thought you had to pick one. Yeah, I always thought it had to be like a steamy book or a spicy book, and I've always felt a bit nervous like recommending books and being like, they're like, oh, is it spicy? I'm like, it's...
Mine's usually given 2 out of 5. Or this one might get 3. This one has 2 sex scenes, so it might get 3 out of 5.
The book comes out on May 6th, which is in like 2 days.
Oh,
and you have a whole book tour. You have all these stops. You're already like getting ready. You're doing some press already. What is like... Yeah. I kind of want to know how you get ready for it, but then also like what... Is there like something you're most looking forward to or that you most enjoyed from like last year that you want to do again?
Well, I like to hear how people actually get ready. Like Annabelle Monaghan shared in her newsletter, like literally that she's getting highlights and stuff when she gets ready. I like the nitty gritty. This is maybe too extreme detail, but I do my own nails, so I let them grow a little, and they look professional.
They do. Yeah.
Get this on here. I did my nails. I did a round of self-tanner yesterday. Okay. Very natural though.
Yeah,
just because like I can be a little pale, so I put like a lotion that develops over like 6 or 8 hours, and then you wash it off. I like to have a little glow and very natural still. I usually will get a haircut a little before because it's bad. So not that my haircut girl is good, but like it's safer to get it earlier.
Yeah.
And usually I'll do a bunch of K18, which like is a strengthening bond repair for the hair before the events, and then switch to like a moisturizing hair mask. And I'm actually like night before the events when I'm actually going to be doing my hair.
Yeah.
I like to do my hair for the events with like my T3 hair products, my favorite. And I will say like I have the outfits already, but I do pick what I'll wear for each event and try to do different things for each one. I think we talked about this. It's a bit of a tangent. I did a year without shopping, and I think that gave me a better sense of my personal style and helped me better curate my wardrobe. But this year I got my color analysis done on vacation, and now I feel like I have a new lease on my wardrobe and better know what to wear. But that's basically what I do. I'm going to be doing some videos in advance so I can enjoy the day of. We had such a good cake last year that we got the same cake again this year for 2 of the events. So the local events will get my cake that I really like. But asking Annalise earlier if I should do brown or black mascara, I think that stuff makes it a little bit fun and festive, you know?
No, for sure. What are some of the events? I know there's like a lot of them, but what are some that are coming up that you're not necessarily most excited for, because I'm sure excited for all of them, but ones that you want to shout out is like, come.
Well, the one at Love Struck is probably what I'm looking forward to the most right now, because it's first and because it's on the actual launch day, so I think it'll be very festive, and because it's here in the Boston area. A lot of people I know will be there, so that's always extra fun. And I'm looking forward to the walking book club in LA with Preoccupied, just because what a fun thing that they do, you know? Like, it's very fun. I've never been to a walking book club, so I'm excited to see One Last Shot and be a part of that. It'll be nice.
I've been to a couple of the Preoccupied events, and they're so fun, and just like really sweet. It's such a cool idea. I think it was so much fun. I
can't
wish
wait.
I could go. I'm so bummed, but
I'm
I'm
glad
excited.
you're here in Boston.
Me too. I think it's gonna be a blast.
The Boston one's also at a romance bookstore, so I think that's really fun. And Love Struck is new and special and like just so lovely. So
yeah, I can't wait to go. It's been on my list ever since I saw that it was like coming.
It's really a great bookstore, and the event will be so fun.
Speaking of, I wanted to know some of your favorite independent bookstores that you would want to shout out.
Easy. I love Beacon Hill Books. Beacon Hill Books is amazing. The food is good too. So beautiful. It's in a brownstone in Back Bay. Love Struck, where I'm having the event. We're having the event there for a reason because it's an incredible store. It's a romance only store, which is so special. Copper Dog Books in Beverly. My pickleball friend's cousin owns it actually, which is a fun thing that I didn't even know when we booked the event there. That's like our closest like local indie bookstore. And the Rick Bodice New York, we're having an event at. That'll be really nice. Another romance only bookstore, which I love. I love Trident on Newbury Street. I've done events with other people at Trident, like as their conversation partner, and I've shopped a lot at Trident. They have great sales. Trident is just like so lovely. It's like a pretty big store for Newbury Street too. We went there.
Yeah, they have a cafe, right?
They have outdoor seating too. Really nice.
Oh, really? That's so nice. Yeah, those are all so fun. I'm so excited. I feel like we've explored most of those, and Love Struck is like the last one. Actually, I've never been to the Rick Bodice New York. That's
it's nice. Too. It's in Brooklyn, so it's like harder to get to, but it's really nice.
Yeah, I love when it's like independent bookstores like pair in with like coffee shops or food places, and it's like you
Love
can just
Struck
make
does
a whole
that really well. They have both a cafe with food and coffee and stuff, and a wine bar, so people can take it into the evening. Yeah,
that's so nice. And what are some books that you're currently reading and loving?
So Annabelle Monaghan, I'm a huge fan of, and her new book is out, I want to say May 27th. It's called It's a Love Story, and I loved it. I read it so fast. I should have savored it more, but it was so good. That was really good. I'm really excited for Atmosphere, Taylor Jenkins Reid's new book.
I know she's coming out with another one.
I'm probably her biggest fan. Like, I know everyone's a fan of her. I'm a really big fan. Like, huge fan. Like, I would love to meet her, putting it out there. I'm a big fan. I like got myself invited to the Daisy Jones and the Six premiere because I'm that big a fan. Like,
I love that.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. Not everyone likes her books enough, in my opinion. Yeah. I think we're gonna look back and remember her as one of the greats of our generation of writers. Like, I truly think she's that good, and she's someone who's really evolved from her earlier books, and I love to see that too. I think that's probably my most anticipated book of the year, maybe. Yeah. I'm just such a huge fan.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I just read Carrie Soto is Back. I listened to the audio.
I love that one.
It was so good.
Okay, I think people hate on that one. I understand Carrie got a bad name from Malibu Rising, but like, don't knock it till you try it. That book is amazing. It's so good. And people hating on it, I think like some internalized sexism may be at play because she's such a strong, unapologetic character, and it's really hard to make a book popular or get a good deal on a book that has a character that isn't immediately likable. So I respect that book so much, and I love it. I thought it was so good. I cried reading it.
It was amazing.
Like, her books are the only ones right now that I reread because I love them so much. Like, truly, like, she's probably the author right now that I most like want to meet.
Really?
Yeah, and I've never gone to anything that she's been at. So
Hi,
Taylor, I'm a really big fan.
This was so fun. I appreciate you so much.
Everyone, please go buy this book. I really appreciate it when you spend your hard-earned dollars on my work. So I hope that you love the book.
And I know that you will. I'm so excited for us to be reading it in book club this month, and I can't wait to talk about it. I feel like there's so much. There's always so much in your books that we can just get into the nitty gritty. And I love your third book too. Like,
Annalise was the first person to read my third book.
You just
spoiler, she read it before my own publisher.
Oh my gosh, you nail it every time. Okay, well, if you have any additional questions for Betty, anything that I didn't ask, or something you want to say about the book that you'd love for her to read, you should do that. Thank you so much for joining me. I feel like
thank you for having me. This was so fun.